So, when it comes to well being, it's really important to recognize that it's actually more than just our physical and our mental health. And we also have spiritual and emotions, but that's just one category. If that's all we focus on and we ignore all the rest, then we're ultimately going to be very unhappy, miserable beings, is what we're going to be. Now, it's important to recognize that emotional health and mental health are not the same thing. Emotional health is how we feel, whereas the mind is how we conduct ourselves. It's our comprehension, the things that we know and understand. It's the ability to know the difference between certain concepts. Now, the heart is about building a loving character and relationships. So, for example, of how this can go wrong, let's say you have a past hurt and you're unable to get past it and you struggle to forgive someone. Well, a part of a loving character is the ability to forgive. The Bible describes love as being patient, kind, does not keep a record of wrongs, is not envious, boastful, self-seeking, etc. But when you look at it, it's describing personal qualities. And I've compiled a list of over 140 of those, maybe more on that another day, but forgiving is one of those qualities. So we can become bitter in our hearts, which can actually have a negative impact on our health. When we get incredibly stressed out, that has a toll on our health. And when we have bad health, that takes a toll on other things too. So everything's interconnected. It's really important to recognize that. Now, role is about what you contribute to the world, friends, and family. This is, and you'll notice money isn't on here. Why? It's because it comes from the role. If you can contribute to people and then you just simply come up with a pricing model for it, that's where money comes from. But money is a symptom of action rather than an area of well-being in itself. Because if you try to go out in the world and you just look at how can I make money, you might do scummy things to get that money. But if you consider your purpose or your role, what you actually serve for the betterment of other people with a loving character, then money is just a byproduct of that. Now, when it comes to environment, it's important to understand that we have a physical environment. So for example, with what I do for a living, I teach people. So whiteboards, notebooks, books, having the Bible, like all that's so important. The Bible's important for everyone, but social surroundings is about who we surround ourselves with. Now, it's one thing to forgive a person, but understand that God has the ability to change a person's heart. We're very limited in that aspect. So we can forgive someone, let go of the hatred, but that doesn't mean that we continue to stay around someone that's potentially dangerous to us. So I just wanted to give that disclaimer. Change, how to measurably improve in areas, and then it also touches on aspects of development. For example, have you ever heard the phrase practice makes perfect? That's a lie. You can practice all you want. I've seen it before, I've been there before, and you can effectively not improve at all. And this ultimately comes because people think that just simply practicing is enough, but sometimes you're not educated enough. Sometimes you haven't reflected and recognized the mistakes that you're making, so you're further cementing your errors. Maybe you're lacking inspiration. You ever heard of writer's block, for example? It's a real thing. And there's 8 simple aspects of development and 4 stages of development. But if you really want to get complex, there's over 40 aspects of development, but that is not just an entire video. Honestly, that is like a whole channel. So then we have time. Oh, and one more thing to improve aspects of development. When you implement those aspects of development, you are able to form new habits. Now, time, it's how we conduct ourselves in a measured way. Is time really about how many hours we have? Of course it isn't, because everybody has the same amount of time in a day. But where we struggle is what we've filled that cup with, so to speak. Everyone has a glass every single day. It's completely empty. What are you going to fill it with? So it's more about just being mindful of that. And since it's so simple, this could probably be erased. But then we have faith, and this is the most important. What does it benefit a person to gain the whole world, but to lose his soul? and not be able to live forever. So anyways, I just wanted to share these areas because if you're, struggling, sometimes you might have a physical issue. You might have depression or anxiety, which are very, very common these days. But usually if you have that, it's because something in a different area is off. People call it mental health, but no, it's really just emotional symptoms of everything else. When you take everything here and you combine it together, it impacts this. So be very careful of that. Could there be chemical imbalances in the brain? Sure. But I could honestly go into depth with this in another video. But generally what I've found is that it's usually something in here that's wrong, and our depression or anxiety or irritability is really just a symptom of not having the rest of this stuff right. So I just wanted to make this to educate and show people that there's more to life than the limited scope at which we view things. And by understanding all of it, we can begin to work on our own lives in a way that is productive and effective and leads to a more satisfying and fulfilling life. Well, I suppose that does it for this one.